Good morning, Nigeria. Welcome to Breakfast Central. It's another morning to look at some of the biggest stories that are rocking Nigeria's social media space and, looking at how these impact our lives. We're looking into some of these stories shortly. But first, I'm Olive Emodi.
And I am Salge Ogbon, welcoming you for those watching us here in Nigeria and, of course, those watching us online. Thank you for joining us for the next 2 hours. As always, we have some of the biggest stories here in Nigeria, of course, making headlines. We'll be sharing them with you. You could also join us in the second half of Breakfast Central and when the phone lines are open, so you could also have your say on some of these stories. Remember, you could tweet at us this morning at News Central TV and let us know where you might be watching us from in any part of the world. It's a very interesting Thursday morning.
Indeed,
we hear that the bill,
Counter Subversion Bill,
yes, has been withdrawn.
I think it's good news. Good news to start the show with, because we started the show yesterday with a conversation about the Counter Subversion Bill and how in some way it is a bill that has been interpreted to stifle the fundamental rights of Nigerians. But one thing that this has shown us is that we have a voice, and if we speak loud enough, they will hear us. I think it's I would applaud the fact that a number of Nigerians spoke about this. We saw on social media, there were retweets, there were conversations about it. And sometimes people think, I'd rather not talk about this thing because if I do, it's not going to make any difference. This is one situation where we're reminded that your voice counts and your voice matters. And we'll be talking about this in depth much later as to why this bill came out in the first place, and even the trust issues that Nigerians have with the fact that the bill has been withdrawn.
Yeah, so I mean, great, how you sound, and yes, you have made good points, but I don't feel 100%, like you do, mostly because I remember, that I think it was earlier in the year or so, we saw a particular bill, cybersecurity bill or something like that was eventually withdrawn or something like that. But if you remember in the Buhari administration, there was the grazing bill that was put forward by the Buhari administration. It received the same reaction and then it was withdrawn. And then a couple of months later, they seemed to find another way to to go around it, and try to once again bring that same bill out. Yeah. I think it was some water resources. I don't remember, the exact terms. But the point is, the fact that it has been withdrawn doesn't necessarily mean that it is dead. It might be brought back again, and one thing that everyone must question is who thought about that bill, and if Nigerians didn't react that way, is that the thinking of the Speaker of the House of Representatives? And do you think that we would have had the representation in the House of Representatives enough to have pushed the bill back or to have killed that bill if Nigerians didn't react online and across the nation yesterday? That for me is a scary part. Yes. That it was even thought about in the first place.
That's the part that really that it's very upsetting. Yes, I completely agree with you that how did you even conceive that bill? There's several other bills. I mean, you have legal instruments at your beck and call to be able to use to better the lives of Nigerians, to be able to use to hold politicians accountable. How are you not pushing bills to say that politicians who are found guilty of corruption charges, politicians who are found, cutting corners would face this or would go through this? Why are we not using bills to hold public office holders to account, especially because there's a trust deficit and Nigerians don't trust their political leaders? So you can wield legal instruments in different directions, and it's very interesting that they chose to wield it in this direction.
There's already also enough legal instruments across the country to curtail the excesses of Nigerians in their comments and in their actions. There's a lot of that. But what this type of bill, once again, like I said yesterday, it just looks like we're moving fully into an authoritarian state. But again, for me, it is the boldness with which the Speaker even put it forward in the first place is what should be scary to every Nigerian. And the ease with which it was withdrawn means that, or it looks like...
Well, it wasn't initially withdrawn. The first step was there was an explanation as to clarify the mix-up concerning the bill. And when they realized maybe what it looks like is they put out the explanation, Nigerians were not buying it, and then they withdrew the bill. In fact, I watched an interview yesterday. It was Deputy Chairman of House of Reps Committee on Media and Public Affairs, Philip Agbese, and he has told, the Speaker so highly, talked about how this is evidence that he listens to the people, and applauded him that this is not something that happens regularly. And I was very embarrassed to see him say that, because whilst, yes, it's a reminder that the voices of Nigerians count, I think that sometimes they forget that they are there to represent the interests of Nigerians. So if you are doing what you are meant to do, it's not something so iconic that you've done. Nigerians do not like it. Nigerians have kicked against it. You are there to represent Nigerians. You are doing your job.
Nobody should
give you an award and a bronze medal
for
to
listening
say,
to the
thank
voice
you
of
very much for
Nigerians.
listening to the voice of Nigerians.
But
His Royal Majesty.
again, authoritarianism, and they feel like it is a thing of honor that you respected democracy and you respected the voice of the people, because they don't expect normally that people in those positions will respect the voice of Nigerians. But there is that, and we'll see how things turn out in the next couple of months if it is going to be brought back again. I also want to just quickly throw in my thoughts on the story from Kano State, saying that the protesters during the End Bad Governance protest, took documents from the court. They went into the court and they took documents on the alleged case of misappropriation of funds by former Governor Abdullahi Ganduje. It's very similar. I remember a couple of years ago, actually, the President Bola Tinubu's case with Alpha Beta. If you remember also that the NSAS protest and protesters were blamed for taking documents also. And so in 2024, I don't know, I think it's the same spirit, the same evil spirit that possessed, whoever it is that brought up the initial bill we spoke about, that has brought up, this same explanation. And this is why. The boldness that you would have to tell Nigerians that documents that were meant to be used in prosecuting cases of corruption running into billions of naira were stolen as a result of the protests that happened just a couple of days ago. The boldness that you have really just says that you don't actually respect Nigerians. And that's the way that I hear it. It sounds that you don't respect Nigerians, and you know that the disrespect will go unpunished. It is an insult to the sensibilities of the average Nigerian. It's an insult to the intelligence of the average Nigerian for you to say that kind of thing and really just, go home and sleep. Because we're Nigeria, like Dambelo will say, this is Nigeria, we're Nigeria.
Is it any defense to say
that?
Is it any defense maybe that people would often look at the current administration or the current government in Kano State and see that it hasn't totally, is not in the same, or hasn't totally played ball with the former governor? Is that any defense? Because that's not. It's not because,
and that's not. It's not comforting in any way, because again, Nigerians just want you to do the right thing. The whole idea whether you're playing ball or not playing ball, that's an abnormality that we seem to have made normal, that when a governor leaves, the person who replaces him plays ball with him. No, I don't want to care about that. I just want you to do the right thing. And if there's corruption charges against or case against this person, then go ahead and chase them and pursue those charges. Right. It's embarrassing that in 2024, we still are claiming that physical paper is the only thing that they use in storing court documents. So there's no electronic form with which the documents have been.
I cannot believe that they do not have copies of that, because it'd be an insult to the intelligence of Nigerians. You know what it's reminding me of? The times when snake was said to swallow money and all those very ridiculous stories. Animals. The animal kingdom was blamed for Nigeria's corruption problem. So I want to believe that it's actually, this is embarrassing, but that this is not how it ends. This is not an excuse for the case to be stalled. I want to believe. I want to believe there's not an excuse for the case to be swept under the carpet. But like you said, it'd really be an insult to Nigerians if we don't see the end of this.
Okay.
If we don't see the end of this matter.
And for those who created that excuse and decided that it was good enough to sell to Nigerians, again, I said it's an insult to the intelligence of Nigerian people. It's an insult to the sensibility of Nigerian people. But here's the thing. This cannot be the same government, generally, that claims to be fighting corruption. And one thing that these people fail to realize is Nigerians may not be able to immediately call you out on these lies and immediately react to these lies, but it registers in the mindset of every Nigerian. And that's the thing. And so when we talk about the NSAS protest back then, it wasn't because every Nigerian was, harassed by the police individually, but there were things that are registering in the mindset of every Nigerian. When we see these stories in the news, police brutality here, it's registering in your mindset. And so with the corruption thing, Nigerians may not act immediately when we hear stories like this from Kano State, but it registers in their mindset. And so when next week you come and tell the average Nigerian that you're fighting corruption,
they won't believe you.
No, who?
Right. And as we wrap up this conversation, just to say that whilst it does indeed sound very ridiculous, there have been photos of the alleged damage that had been done in Kano State. And this is not to disregard that any form of damage has been done in Kano State. But want to employ or want to speak to the judiciary and ask and appeal to the judiciary not to play ball, the ball that is being played currently. The judiciary should not be the scapegoat, because Nigerians are watching. Nigerians want to see how this case with Ganduje will turn out. And the judiciary cannot give us the excuse that the court documents have been, have been stolen. We hope, we want to expect that there are copies of these documents and that it's not just, done in papers, and we have some form of technological backup to this situation.
Now let's begin breakfast headlines in Nigeria by telling you that the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Abbas Tajudeen, has withdrawn the Counter Subversion Bill and other related draft legislations following widespread public concern. The withdrawal was announced in a statement issued by his special advisor on media and publicity, Musa Abdullahi Krishi, on Wednesday. The decision was said to have come after extensive consultations with various stakeholders and a careful assessment of the nation's current circumstances. President Bola Tinubu has arrived at Malabo, the capital of Equatorial Guinea, for a 3-day official visit. The president, who arrived the presidential wing of the Malabo International Airport, was received by the Prime Minister of the country, Manuela Roca Bote, on arrival. The private meeting between the two presidents will be followed by signing of bilateral agreements focusing on various areas, including oil and gas, security, and others. President Tinubu would later sign a historic visitors book, after which a press statement would be made available then at dinner to close the day. The chairman, Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, Mahmood Yakubu, has called on security agencies to remain vigilant and ensure the smooth conduct of Edo and Ondo governorship elections. Yakubu made this call in a meeting of the Interagency Consultative Committee on Election Security in Abuja on Wednesday. The INEC boss emphasized the need to protect election materials, personnel, and polling activities while reminding security forces to adhere to the rules of engagement for electoral duties. And also in the news, the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, has called for the establishment of specialized courts to aid the speedy trial of oil theft cases, as well as other financial crimes in the country. The Chief of Staff to the Executive Chairman of the Commission made the call during an interactive or investigative hearing at the House of Representatives, expressing worry that the absence of such measures has caused the delay of many of its cases.
Oil theft cases that have gone on for over 10 years, some much longer than that, and then sometimes again, from the Court of First Instance, you see it running to appeal, and then Court of Appeal, and then to Supreme Court, So this also affects a lot in conclusion of the cases. So if we do have special courts, but not just specifically to issues of oil theft, but more broadly to the things that we do in terms of economic and financial crimes, this would also go a long way in assisting at the work that we do.
Also in the news, the World Health Organization has declared the mpox surge in Africa was now a global public health emergency, sounding its highest possible alarm over the worsening situation. The WHO called a meeting of experts to study the outbreak and make recommendations to the UN Health Agency's Director General, Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus. The decision comes after the African Union's health watchdog declared its own public health emergency over the growing outbreak. Sudanese soldiers marched through the streets of Gedaref, 410 kilometers east of Khartoum, to celebrate the 70th anniversary of the Sudanization of the armed forces. The United States had insisted it would press ahead with convening talks this week on the devastating conflict in Sudan, even without the Sudanese government. The U.S.-mediated talks in Switzerland are scheduled to start on Wednesday, but Washington has had no confirmation from the Sudanese armed forces that they are intending to take part.
ولا بد في هذه المناسبة أن نحيي صمود القوات المسلحة وقوات المخابرات العامة والشرطة والاستنفار والمقاومة الشعبية. لا بد من نحيي تصديهم لأكبر مؤامرة في التاريخ تشهدها البلاد، وتصديهم للغزو الأجنبي ومجموعة الدبل الإرهابية. نحيي نرسل رسالة للشعب السوداني ونطمنه ونبشر بالخير أن هذه الميليشيا إلى زوال، وكل القوات المسلحة تتقدم بثبات في كل المحاور لنظافة السودان من دنس الدقلو.
The chairman of Nigeria's House of Representatives Special Investigating Committee probing crude oil theft in the country has blamed the mismanagement of the Niger Delta Development Commission for being responsible. This was as lawmakers met with the leadership of the NDDC, urging them to rise up to the challenge of ending the vice in the country. Our correspondent, Edo and Ondo reports.
Crude oil theft over the years has continued to pose a significant challenge to Nigeria's economy, as the nation's revenue aspirations largely depend on the sales of crude. According to the Nigeria Extractive Industries Transparency Initiative, between 2017 and 2020, over 4.3 trillion naira worth of crude was stolen, a situation that is unsustainable.
An economy like our own, which is largely till today depending on oil as a major subsidy, major base for our economic functions and even for financing public services and infrastructure, cannot continue with this kind of serious challenge in the oil and gas sector.
While engaging critical stakeholders to understand the extent of the acts and provide lasting solutions, some lawmakers say the lack of access to petroleum products for riverine communities and the mismanagement of the Niger Delta Development Commission can be blamed for the problem.
The fallacies and shortfalls of the NDDC's statutory performance as an organization is contributing significantly to the problem of oil theft. If you guys can do the right thing, you take these boys off the street.
How they go to refrigerate their fishes, if they do not have PMS. So, Chairman, this is one of the root causes. Absence of PMS and AGO in the NNPCL floating station has enabled illegal bunkering.
The NDDC claims that its programs and projects within the Niger Delta region over time has helped efforts to mitigate oil theft.
By reason of that single road, being able to provide security, to intervene in any oil theft in that axis.
I know the time frame that took NDDC to build that road you are talking about. 16 years, my brother. 16 years. Building 28-kilometer road. Whether it was you are making or not, is that the right thing to do?
Other agencies like Nigeria Maritime Administration and Safety Agency present at the hearing revealed that it has not been carried along in crude oil transactions in the country. In Abuja for News Central, I am Idong Joseph.
Well, interesting there, and I think when we get into proper conversations this morning, I'm probably going to bring, that question to our guest. If these committees really are the answer to solving the question of oil theft in Nigeria, or the government, really needs to take decisive action to end oil theft. I saw documents a couple of days ago showing that Nigeria's oil output, oil production, is still about 1.3 million barrels per day. Is not, the 1.6 million barrels per day that, the allegedly not the 1.6 million barrel, but that the president mentioned in his address last week. So, does a committee need to be set up to end oil theft? No. I think the government
Are they
needs,
really ready?
yeah.
And can they, like we always ask on the show, can they categorically state that they do not know the people who are involved in this oil theft? That they don't know all, like at least some, and what action has been brought against them. Anyway, we'll talk more about this. Let's head to our next conversation. Nigeria's minimum wage is 70,000, but Sumaila Kawu says he earns over 21 million naira monthly as a Nigerian senator. This revelation is coming barely 24 hours after the Revenue Mobilization, Allocation and Fiscal Commission said that each of the 109 senators in the upper chamber receives a total of 1.06 million naira in salary and allowances per month.
The issue of lawmakers' salaries has been a topic of debate in Nigeria, with former President Olusegun Obasanjo recently criticizing the National Assembly for fixing their own salaries and emoluments. Senator Kawu's revelation raises many questions as to the accuracy of the official figures. Now, joining us is public affairs analyst Naimeka Obiari. Good morning and thanks for joining us.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Great to have you. Who do we believe here? Is it Senator Kawu or the chairman of the RMA FC? Is it possible that Nigerian senators, House of members, earn 1 million naira a month?
And we know of a truth that Senator Kawu is saying the truth. There is nobody in Nigeria that does not know that the average senator, that Nigerian senator earns even above the 21 million naira a month, and which is outrageous and which is unacceptable. And that is not even supposed to be so, because the salaries and wages of public servants are fixed by the RANFAC. So basically what they did and what they are doing, just as Obasanjo pointed out, is very immoral, is very fraudulent, is very unacceptable. How much does even the U.S. senator receive per annum? $173,000. Converted to naira is far less than what the Nigerian senators collect. And if you look at the U.S. budget and that of Nigeria, $6.9 trillion. What is equivalent to what are the senators collecting with House of Rep? Total National Assembly budget in America is about $3 billion. If you put it, it's about 0.0043% of the U.S. budget. If we are to put the same rate to Nigerian budget, the total allocation that should go to Nigerian Senate should not be rated more than 17 billion naira. But they practically allocated 344 billion naira to themselves, 1.2% of our national budget. That is madness. That is outrageous. That is immoral. That is unacceptable. But of course, this is Nigeria where anything goes. The people will just sit down there, complain, rant, tweet. Why these guys keep on having their way? You saw the way they attacked Obasanjo, the way they abused Obasanjo for asking them to do the right things. It is so because we have refused to do the right thing. All over the world, senators, National Assembly legislators do not take anything more than 0.0043% of national budget. Fact check me. If we are to follow the same practice in the US, percentage of allocation to the National Assembly, to the national budget, the National Assembly of Nigeria should not allocate to themselves anything more than 17 billion naira. But we claim to be borrowing democracy and the president of government for America, but we are not following in the same vein what they are doing there. Basically, what we have here is rascality, is impunity, is deliberate abuse of the process by the same people that are supposed to maintain that process.
All right. So let's talk as well about the importance of bringing some form of openness to how much is being earned. Former Kaduna Central Senator Shehu Sani had once publicly disclosed that he earned about 13.5 million. I mean, very recently, I think yesterday in a conversation, in an interview, he argued or he agreed with the perspective or the recent perspective of the senator who says they earn up to 21 million, breaking it down into, how much it will cost, the running costs they get, constituency, allowances that they get. So why is it seemingly shrouded in some measure of secrecy? Why is it such a big deal for them to actually come out clearly with how much is being earned, how much their allowances are, and should they really be allowed to fix the cost of how much they are earning?
They are getting away with this because of the weak institutions that we have and because of the lack of political will. practically among the political elites in Nigeria, what they are in is a party government. You rub my back, I rub your back. The executive rubs the back of the National Assembly. The National Assembly passes everything that they present to them. If we are to run a truly democratic and representative democracy, where the institutions are strengthened, by now the EFCC will go after them. Because what they are doing is illegal. What they are doing is fraudulent. What they are doing is immoral. They have no right. Yes, they have the power of appropriation. That you are the CFO of a company, that you have the power to share and distribute, but does not mean that you should put that money into your private pocket. It's criminal. The company will fire you, they'll prosecute you. What they are doing by total and flagrant disobedience of the laws of the land. If we are in a country where things are done well, if we are in the US, by now FBI will have gone against them. It's like the leadership of the assembly, and that is the truth. But you know, there's no secrecy here. We all know the truth. There's nobody in Nigeria that does not know that the average senator works home. And of course, you saw what happened last year, December. They allocated to each of them 200 million naira as constituency to go and share rights palliating $57 billion, 57 billion naira. You saw the way they were talking among themselves. Some claim they got 500, some claim they did not get 300. At the end of the day, is it right? Is it the job of the National Assembly to be allocating monies to themselves to go and do rights palliating? All over the world, legislators are supposed to make laws, provide oversight functions over the executive. There is nowhere in the whole wide world in democracy where legislators hijack projects, do contracts, and be in charge of doing rules and other things. It is not done. But that is the kind of caricature that we have established here in Nigeria that is always steeped and dipped in monumental and atrocious corruption. And it's unacceptable.
All right. I want us to also quickly take a look at some of the numbers. I won't go through everything. The RMAFAC on their website has clarified what the senators are earning. And just to quickly highlight there, they said that I'll come back to a disclaimer that they put out there, but they said a closer look at the monthly entitlement of senators reveals that each senator collects a monthly salary and allowances of the sum of 1,063,860 naira, consisting of the following: basic salary, which is 168,866 naira, motor vehicle fueling and maintenance allowance 126,650 naira, personal assistant 42,216 naira, domestic staff 126,650 naira, entertainment 50,660 naira, utilities 50,660, newspapers and periodicals 25,330, wardrobe 42,216 216 naira. I think it's 42 million, it looks like. I'm not quite sure. Okay, but they've listed all these numbers, right? But there's something I want us to highlight in their statement. They said, first of all, I wish to state that the RMAFC does not have constitutional powers to enforce compliance with proper implementation of the remuneration package. This lacuna is, however, being addressed by the National Assembly. Is this in any way some form of defense to what is being earned? Is this maybe excuse enough for us to say that we need to revisit the powers, the constitutional provision for that?
And like I stated earlier, who are those that will amend the laws to ensure that there's a penalty clause, a consequential clause in that law if the National Assembly go against it? It's National Assembly, and I can bet my finger they will not put in those consequential clauses. But we already have existing laws that can tackle that. By the Establishment Act of the EFCC, any government official that misappropriate public funds should be duly prosecuted, should be duly tried, investigation carried out. By law, it is the rank fact that is supposed to fix salaries of public sector officials. It's like there's no difference between National Assembly members and those who work in parastatals and agencies. They are all public employees subject to the laws of the land. If the law has specifically stated that a senator is supposed to receive so amount of money, and they go behind the laws to allocate certain amount, that EFCC has the right to probe it and request for a refund. And that is where laws are respected, where institutions are independent. In the US, you could see the FBI having a breakback with the president. I will not do this, we will do that, and all those stuff. You could see the Federal Reserve Bank chairman saying we won't do this, we won't that. It cannot happen in Nigeria because of the kind of caricature, the kind of mockery we practice here in form of democracy. Even the members of the National Assembly, it's already established that most of them are there just for what they can get. You saw in your earlier clip where a House Committee on Oil Theft is blaming NDDC for oil theft in Nigeria. When was NDDC established? NDDC is almost over 18 years old. When did this oil theft start at the level it is today? Under Abbas Tajudeen, were we hearing anything about oil theft? Under Yar'Adua, did we hear anything about oil theft? Even under the much maligned Jonathan and the Zani government, did we even hear anything about this massive oil theft? We are doing 2.5, 2.4 million barrels a day. In fact, in October 2010, we did 2.88 million barrels a day. All through the days of October, and we exported 2.43 million barrels. The madness started under Buhari. And the current GMD of NNPC, Melekere, in 2021, told us gleefully that Nigeria loses $1.9 billion worth of crude oil to thievery and inefficiency every month, $22 billion annually. And the man had been there since 2021. He promised us the refineries will work May 2022. It has not worked. National Assembly had not called for a sack. Under normal circumstances, somebody should be held responsible. Rather than sack the man who has failed to do his job, they are blaming NDDC. NDDC is not the Navy. NDDC is not the army. Even the master that is supposed to be in the know of what happens in our waterways, especially crude oil vessels that comes and goes. The master is not carried along. You saw the master pointed out. National Assembly is supposed to make a law allowing the master to have access to all those records. They have not done it. But you can see them chasing shadows, blaming NDDC for a criminality that started 8 years ago, 9 years ago, much earlier, much later, after the result of NDDC. So you can see the kind of human beings that we have in the National Assembly. They are scared to do the right thing. Of course, obviously, most of them have been compromised by those who wields the big weight. They cannot even exercise oversight function over the executive arm of government, over the agencies, over the person. In a very sane climb, by now, those in charge of NNPC, especially the MP, will have been sacked because it's an obvious lapse. If I am the GMD of NNPC, I tell you, in 6 months, I will stop this madness. There is no way. The crude oil that we're talking about here is not sweet. You cannot blame the poor urchins in our data that takes maybe 1,000 barrels to cook in buckets. We are talking about $1.9 billion lost monthly as established and confirmed by the GMD of the NNPC. And they've not taken any measures to ratify the issue. If I am the GMD of NNPC, I tell you of a truth. Within 6 months, this madness will end. But we have refused to bring into books and accounts those who are responsible, and we are busy chasing shadows. We keep on chasing shadows because we do not have men in the National Assembly with the political will, with the sincerity, with the courage, with the utmost integrity to call things by their names and hold on to it.
Very true. And, it's also, a situation, or likely a situation where there's, too many interests, that, would be affected if the government needs to take decisive action to end oil theft. And, because we keep playing politics with these numerous interests, it just never ends. But we might come back here. Let's go back to the National Assembly. And I want to ask, what would your response be to those who say we're focusing on the wrong thing, which is their salary? What we should be focusing on is the general budget for the National Assembly. In 2021, I think it was 134 billion. In 2022, it was about maybe 169 billion, for the National Assembly. And those figures, of course, have gotten higher. If you remember also, the Senator Ningi was suspended for accusing the National Assembly of slight budget padding here and there. And that case eventually has gone away. So do you think that we should be focused more, the cleanup for the National Assembly's financial books should be focused more on their annual budget and what those funds are used for? The allegations of padding, using 57 billion naira to buy cars for members of the National Assembly, is that where we should be focused on instead of their salaries?
Exactly. I think that should be the focus. Like I explained to you, check the national budget of other presidential democracies, from the US to Singapore, in fact, to every other country. The budget allocation for the operation of the National Assembly of most of these states across the world is 0.043% of national budget. The US budget 6.9 trillion national budget. Total allocation for the operation of the US Senate and US Rep. Everything for the year, $3 billion. Zero. If we are to follow the same scientific and rigorous process, the National Assembly should have had anything more than 17-20 billion naira allocated to them for the whole of the year. You see, the problem we have in Nigeria is that we borrow from the West, but we don't do the way they do it: discipline, honesty, sincerity. By the special grace of God, most of them are former governors. Most of them are people that have occupied politics. If they are sincere and not driven by greed, we on this side are not even supposed to be the ones begging them to do the right things, to stop all this. I call this this is satanic greed. For somebody that has been governor for 8 years, for people that have occupied lofty positions, I expect even those who are over 70 years old to sit down and begin to ask themselves this question: what do we want for Nigeria? Look at the First Republic. The First Republic, the salaries of public officers were tied to the pegs of office of civil servants, and their jobs were actually part-time. And that was why you had men like Sir Louis or the Ojukwu, reputed to be the wealthiest man in Africa then, joined parliament. He was chairman of 15 top corporations in Nigeria. But he chose to go to parliament, not because he wanted to make money or collect constituency point allocation, because he was already the wealthiest man in Africa. He went there because he wanted to contribute his knowledge, his intellect, his experiences in making laws and programs that will help to build up Nigeria. And that was why when he was heckled down in parliament by one of their members, he carried his files and walked away, and he never went back. He wasn't there because of what, but basically what we have today are people who are driven by their greed, who do not have any conscience or whatever, to seek for legacy, to ask themselves, what kind of country do we want to leave for our children, for our great-grandchildren? Under normal circumstances, most of them there, 99% are Christians and Muslims. They go to church on Sundays, they go to mosque on Fridays, and they want to make heaven and Ajana, but they don't sit down and ask themselves, what do we want? You don't even need to persuade them. The current senior president was a former governor for 8 years. Former minister, former head of everything. What will have said to all of them to have mellowed down, slowed down? That's okay. What do we do? The patrons have called for the president to send the executive bill for us to convoke a sovereign national conference. To actually set up a constitution that is people-centric, just like we had in 1960. Before that is independent, there were many summits, and the forefathers, our founding fathers, agreed on what will work for us. But I can tell you, it's all going to end up politics, paddy, and all those stuff. These guys should sit down and ask themselves questions, because it's not enough to tell them they know what to do. Let us not stop deceiving ourselves. They know within their conscience that if we are to follow the best practices, the salaries of National Assembly, their pegs of office allowances should be tied to that of the civil service, as we had it in the First Republic. But of course, they won't do it. And they won't do it. It will get to a point when Nigerians will say enough is enough. And I just pray we don't get to that point.
What would that picture be like? The picture you've just painted of Nigerians getting to the point where they say enough is enough. And how would you say that citizens can hold these public office holders to account whilst there's public outcry against it? It doesn't have to be one of those conversations that there'll be a lot of noise about, and we don't hear anything about it again, especially because right now we're in a struggling economy. So what would the picture of Nigerians saying enough is enough look like? And how can Nigerians hold citizens to account? Hold the public office holders to account?
Olive, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh are two nations that share similar demography. And even if you look at the Bangladeshis, they even had GIs are better than that of Nigeria. But one day they said enough is enough. I was sharing with somebody one day, and I said to him, I live in Banana Land. I told the guy, I said, there's only one road out of this area. I said, there was, during the EndSARS, something happened. I was driving out, and I saw youths, thousands of youths, massed along the Banana Island road. And I said to what question that came to my mind? A time cometh, if we do not take our time to reset this country, the poor will become so desperately poor that they will seek to help themselves. And when they seek to help themselves, there is no power under the earth that can stop them. And that is the truth. And when they start searching, there is no leader. It's mass hunger. And I pray that our leaders and even us, the elites, will get to that moment of sober reflection to ask ourselves, what do we want for this country? And I've said it just like Abbas just said, even beyond amending the laws, we need to change our attitudes. We need to ask questions. There is no amount of army and police that can stop a mass of hungry people when they go out scavenging for food. I give you an example. In Samaria, things were so tough in the Bible that 4 lepers said to themselves, if we sit here, we will die. What did they do? The city had been shut out against them. They boldly marched out against the whole army of Assyria. If we die, we die. And of course, God intervened and the army fled and they carried things. In Nigeria, I don't even think that such a miracle may happen because most of us are very, very wicked. And when these guys march out looking for food, God help us.
Yeah. Also, I want to ask, since everyone, the RAMFAC, has had his say, its chairman, of course, has said it's 1,063,000. The senators, have said different, or rather, that particular senator has said different. Do you think that legal steps might be taken or should be taken to completely expose what these figures are, and if there has been a corrupt practices for the longest time, awarding these National Assembly members much beyond what has been detailed with the federal government?
If the chairman of RAMFAC is very sincere and being honest, what he should have done is to write a very concise petition and request letter to ICPC and EFCC itemizing what he stated. Based on the evidences of the pronouncement of Kawu and former Senator Shehu Sani, which cannot be controverted, what he will have done is just to write a petition to the EFCC, to the ICPC, because by constitution and by law, he is only empowered to set wages and salaries and allowances for National Assembly. He should have done a petition to EFCC, of course, asking them to investigate it and to recover Nigeria's money. But of course, you and I know that it may just be an exercise in futility. But in a nation where things work, with the outcry that has visited this, with even the pronouncement of no lesser a person than the former president of Nigeria, Olusegun Obasanjo, one would have expected Akpabio and Abbas to go back and say to the members, hey guys, let's do the right things. But of course, have you ever seen any of them protest? They shared 40 billion naira to buy cars. They collected. The APC, PDP, Labour Party. I was discussing with one of the members of the National House of Rep, and I was saying, if I'm a member of the National House of Rep, I will have protested. Not only protesting, I will have held a press conference. He told me they will suspend me. I said that would have even been worse, because out there I will make life unbearable for them. Why some of them are scared of being suspended? Because they're actually there because of what they will get, what they will benefit. So you see, it's like a court thing. It's like a court group. Everybody wants to protect his own interest. I will have held several press conferences highlighting this thing. The worst they can do is they will suspend me, and I will go to court to change that suspension. And while I'm in the court, I will daily make noise. I will be a thorn in their flesh in such a manner that I will rally Nigerians to go after them. But the truth is, across party line, it has become a kind of elitist banditry and gangsterism. Somebody will tell you, oh, this man was outside there, he was shouting. When he got in there, he blended. Because the man never had character in the first instance.
Yeah, all right.
I mean, it's a very interesting picture that you've painted here. I think my final question to you would be, you said that if a RAMFAC chairman was being sincere with himself, that these steps you've listed are the steps that he will take. Do you have faith in him to be able to follow through with it?
I'm sure he will watch this. I am sure he will listen to this. I will also seek for his digital handles and post the same request. And let's watch and see what he will do. But the truth is, this country is one country so blessed by God. Sometimes all of us will focus on the presidency, but we forgot the fact that if the National Assembly is up, and the most important arm of government in our democracy is actually the National Assembly. And that is why during dictatorship, they are not there, because they have powers to oversee activities in the MDAs. They have power. Let me tell you. And there is something these guys don't understand. If you don't wield your powers, if you don't use it well, you will ending up in infamy. Nigerians are watching. Have you gone to the social media to see how Nigerians abuse them, how Nigerians curse them, what people say about them? And I'm sure they read it. The other day, they were trying to pass a law, trying to stop all these kind of things. And does it make sense? And these guys forget the one fact that they can't be there forever. And yes, you're there, but 20 years, for even 30 years, nobody lives forever. But we should ask ourselves, people like Dr. Michael Okpara, Simon Bakwe, Lateef Jokonde, Obafemi Awolowo, Amadou Bello, Tafawa Balewa are still remembered and fondly hallowed and praised because of the legacies they left. Most of these people, once they are gone, 4 years, nobody remembers them. How will you remember a thief and a looter? You remember only those that bless your life. And that is the truth. This guy should sit down and ask the question, what do I want to be remembered even long after I've gone? And all these digital prints are there. Their children will grow. Their great-grandchildren will read most of the things that their fathers did. I have a 15-year-old son. The guy, and he's very, very deep. He's very deep. The guy tells me, even in class, they know most of their classmates whose fathers, and they abuse them. They discuss,
Right.
Children, they throw banters to each other.
And I'm really hoping,
what is about your father?
I'm really hoping that, as you've said it,
it's very funny.
That our lawmakers will be very, will think about the legacy that they're leaving behind and, what this will mean. I think as an aside, let's ask you one more question. Sorry, we have to just chip this in before you go. I'm certain that you've been following through with the Counter Subversion Bill. You've seen the stages, the public outcry on social media, and now the withdrawal. What are your thoughts about this bill and why it came into effect in the first place? And also, do you have confidence that the bill has been withdrawn for real and will not be snuck back in like a thief in the night?
That the bill even passed, that kind of bill even passed the first reading in the House of Rep is an amplification of how irresponsible most of the members and leadership are. I expected one person to have picked it out, picked his mic, and raised a massive uproar. They didn't do it. That bill even passed the first reading in the House of Rep shows, I am scared of this country. I'm scared for this country. I am really, really scared that 369 members sat in one place and such bill even passed first reading. It's a cause for worry.
Well, luckily, I guess, it has been withdrawn. We'll see if the Speaker, Tajudeen Abbas, of course, completely kills the bill. And of course, I said earlier, that it's a House of Representatives that has members from different political parties, and you would expect that maybe somehow, some way, the opposition political party would speak up. But a lot of times, Nigerians are very disappointed, when you realize that it is, a bill that passes through without any counter at all. Nameka Berry, thank you very much for joining us this morning. We will see how things progress, both with the Counter Subversion Bill and also with conversations concerning what our senators and National Assembly members generally earn every week. Thanks for joining us once again.
That's what I didn't remember.
I should have said every month, not every week. But now, still speaking about the House of Assembly or the National Assembly, the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Tajudeen Abbas, has withdrawn the controversial Counter Subversion Bill, which proposed a fine of 5 million naira and a 10-year prison sentence, or both, for any Nigerian who refuses to recite the national anthem. The withdrawal comes in response to widespread outrage and opposition, with critics labeling the bill a draconian and anti-democratic bill. The
bill, which was sponsored by Tajudeen Abbas, the Speaker, was approaching its second reading, where its general principles would have been debated. The proposed legislation also included the same penalties for anyone who destroys a national symbol or a place of worship. We'll be joined to look at this conversation by legal practitioner Deji Adeyandju. Good morning, Mr. Adeyandju. Thank you for joining us. First, your thoughts about the fact that this bill came to light in the first place. What it says. There was huge criticism leveled against this bill. So talk to us about your thought process about why and how it even came into into existence in the first place and then pass through the first reading?
Yes, so thank you for having me once again. The idea generally is that bills that are sponsored by either the National Assembly or executive bills sent to it, are subject to a lot of scrutiny. Is it in public interest? Is it in the interest of the economy? Is it in the interest of societal development, political development, and other sundry issues? But that's not the case with this bill. I have never seen a situation where a bill, people are just analyzing the bill based on the fact that if you don't sing the national anthem, there are several other ingredients in that bill that suggest that the National Assembly is anti-people. Because no matter how you look at it, there are more critical issues around the economy, how to get our economy working, but the National Assembly, they are not concerned about that. They are concerned about gagging, freedom of expression, freedom of choice, freedom of thought, and other freedoms, including freedom of assembly, because this bill seeks to criminalize groups from protesting and even suggesting that the constitutional provision of freedom of assembly freely given to citizens now have to be derogated from. The bill suggests that protest groups must register. I have never seen this kind of thing before in my life. A situation where the courts, the plethora of cases have said nobody needs permission from anybody to protest. Nobody needs any form of advice about protest. And the Police Establishment Act is very clear about security agencies, especially as regards to the police, protecting protesters, during protest. So I have never seen where a bill will now say, oh, protesters must register. This same bill also talks about the issue of if as a Nigerian, if you fail to criticize people who make remarks against the country, whether and it suggests that, for instance, it appears to me that this bill is also targeting the pro-Biafra agitator Simon Ekpa. That the bill was seeking to mandate Nigerians, and Nigerians must condemn whatever he said against the country. So I've never seen a situation where bills will be targeted against protesters because of the End Bad Governance, recent End Bad Governance protest. They started specific things to target protesters in the bill. They've started specific things to target people like Simon Ekpa and other people who are pro-Biafra agitators.
Yeah.
So also the issue about compelling people to sing the national anthem. What of people who do not even have the mental capacity to sing the national anthem? People who the bill did not take into cognizance the issue of disabilities, the issue of pretext. How many of the lawmakers can even sing the national anthem? Either the old or the new. So these are some of the things that the legislators did not take into account, and this is why many people feel that this legislation should be running on a part-time basis. It should not be a full-time job.
Yep.
I think it's too much of idleness that gets them involved and engaged in things like this.
All right, Mr. Adionjo, would it be more convincing?
And we appeal to lawmakers, especially the Speaker of the House of Representatives, that the Speaker should get more busy with providing solutions on how to prevent crude oil theft in the Niger Delta. Provide solutions about how to tackle unemployment. They should make a bill criminalizing and putting life sentence for corrupt officials, both in the National Assembly and in other tiers of government.
Yeah, I want to ask: would it maybe be understandable if the bill is explained as thus? If it says that with regards to the national anthem, it's not failure to sing it; it is intentionally not wanting to sing it that is a criminal offense. And then also with protesting, if the bill says that it's not just protesting that is a crime. It is if your protest, if you sponsor a protest, if you fund a protest, if you encourage a protest that eventually leads to chaos and destruction and anarchy, would those make more sense, to be criminalized?
So then the bill will be taking away the freedom of protest, because if somebody intentionally or refuses to sing the national anthem. It's a form of protest. The person is discontented with something about the system that's not working. Like we saw Aisha Yusufa and Obi Ekwesele, you know. So these people are protesting. It's a form of dissent, a form of protest. The Constitution has said people have the right to, you know, the issue about freedom of thought, conscience, and religion. That someone can elect to say, I'm protesting, I'm not happy. But after all, we saw Fela Adekola Kuti saying he will not, and Bekora Kuti, they protested in several ways. And even this president also protested in a number of ways. You know, so it's the form of protest to say, yes, we agree that people must honor the national anthem in line with extant law and obey, but people also have the right, because these rights, they are concurrent rights in the Constitution. One right in the Constitution says citizens have the right to protest, citizens have the right to freedom of thought, conscience, and religion. Someone will say, oh, I'm exercising my right to freedom of thought. I don't want to be part of this national anthem, and I have my reason for not being part of that. So the Constitution anticipates and respects everyone's opinion and freedoms. Secondly, on the issue of, oh, if you sponsor protest, where in our laws does it say that someone cannot sponsor protest? Where in our laws does it say someone cannot? So, because to sponsor protest, you will not be the one policing. What then is the job of the security agencies to ensure that security is provided? So, when security fails, you want to hold protesters responsible. You want to hold people that bought water, people that send food to protesters in good faith. All these things falls under the clause of good faith and actionable good faith, as the case may be. So you cannot hold people responsible for the conduct of others. It's criminal to do so, just like the way that you cannot arrest somebody in lieu of another.
So what does that then make the federal government? Mr. Adeyanju, what does that then make the actions of the federal government? If you're saying now that it is not illegal to sponsor protests in Nigeria according to the laws, and the federal government has put people on the watch list to be arrested because they have been termed sponsors of protests. And in fact, according to information that we're seeing, arrests have already been made, or they have started making arrests. What does that make the federal government of the day?
This particular government does not respect the Constitution, does not respect freedoms enshrined in Chapter 4 of our Constitution. This government acts as if it's a military regime, because in the last couple of days, the government has arrested almost about 1,300 people. Even Abacha did not arrest that number for protesting. Why will you arrest and charge people for protesting in a democracy? And we're not in a military regime. How can arresting people who say they want to end bad governance become a crime? Does the government want bad governance to continue? You know, so these are the issues. These are the fundamental and general issues. You know, the government is because the government does not respect freedoms of the citizens, and the government does not value that citizens have inalienable rights. That's why the government is harassing people and violating their fundamental rights. You know, all the rights to freedom of assembly, right to freedom of speech, this particular government has violated it in the course of the End Bad Governance protest. So it is because, another reason is because the government also does not care about its human rights records. This was a president who protested against the military, who protested against several civilian governments in this country. But all of a sudden, he does not like protests. He sees protests as regime change, like they said during the Council of State. Quite laughable. All the people that were part of that were people that have supported protests. Buhari, perpetual protester. This president is a perpetual protester. So I do not understand how protest suddenly becomes regime change. All right.
Final question. We need to go. I want your thoughts on the possibility of the bill being brought back, you know, somehow, some way. If you remember the grazing bill and the number of times that it was brought back, you know, somehow or seemingly fraudulently. Do you expect, you know, that this would also come back, or is Speaker Tajudeen Abbas, you know, completely done with it?
Yeah, we hope that Speaker Tajudeen Abbas is completely done with that. You know, instead of focusing on irrelevant issues, they should combat corruption, they should combat insecurity, make bills that will help the country become more secure. Make bills that will help the country generate more money, more forex. Make bills, look, for instance, these issues around refineries. We should decentralize refineries. You should not build an economy around an individual, Aliko Dangote, where one person will be running an economy that supports monopoly. So instead of, I know that they are also involved in the Dangote gate, you know, that we have seen allegations and counter allegations against, from lawmakers against and lawmakers for, over corruption. So those are the kind of legislations that should be, the National Assembly should focus on, not issues, you know, that seems to be anti-people. I've never seen a situation where the legislature takes policies that begins to directly affect on fundamental rights of the citizens instead of defending. The National Assembly should be an arm of government that defends the fundamental rights of citizens. So Mr. Speaker should completely discard this bill into the dustbin of history, and the bill should never resurface.
Okay, I think my final question would be that are Nigerians taking it too far when they call for the speaker to step down? Or would you say that maybe Nigerians are also right when asking him to apologize? Because we've seen different calls. Some asking him to apologize for even thinking of that, what they would refer to as a draconian bill, and others who are saying that he should step down. So do you think that Nigerians are maybe pushing it too far, or is that a rightful call?
No, the speaker has done the right thing after public criticism. After all, government exists because of the people, and the voice of the people is the voice of God. Because sovereignty belongs to the people, from wherein government derives all its powers. You know, the speaker has done the right thing. I think Nigerians should take the win and calling for the removal of the speaker. Although in Senate claims, the speaker will ordinarily have resigned. You know, when you have done something wrong, you don't even need to wait for people. It's only here that people want to die in power. People want to remain in power forever. When you have done the wrong thing, you take a bow, you go honorably, especially when people are unhappy. You know, there are so many things going on in the National Assembly that people are unhappy about. The jumbo pay, you know, the recklessness, the open endorsement. They act as if they are lackeys and aides of the president. No form of accountability, no pushback. They approve loans after. Look at the IMF loan that has just been approved. Counterproductive to our economy. We're going to pay almost quadruple of that money in the distant future, and so many other issues. Those are the reasons why the National Assembly should be progressive. It should not be a rubber stamp legislature. You know, so basically, I think Nigerians should take the win. The speaker has acted appropriately, and we should hope that the speaker will not represent the bill, and the bill be completely dead.
All right, thanks for stopping by this morning and for sharing your thoughts on these very important story. We wish you a great day ahead. Thanks for your time again. And now it's time to find out what major stories are making headlines across Nigeria this Thursday morning. We're joined by the publisher CKN News, Mr. Chris Kende Wandu. Thanks for joining us, sir. Good morning.
Thank you very much for having me. Good morning.
All right. Let's get into it. We'll start with the Punch newspapers, I believe, this morning. See what we can find over there. Big one there says, food crisis. Military deploys troops in Northwest, North Central farms. It says farmers associations, Lord Tinubu, I beg your pardon, say move would boost harvest, tackle food insecurity. Deployment will grant farmers access to farms, ensure hitch-free planting season, says Defense Headquarters. Also, EFCC detains Nakon chair as it recovers 314,098 Saudi Riyal. That's very interesting. And of course, that is with regards the alleged sponsorship of the End Bad Governance protest and other things that he's been accused of. Prices skyrocket as petrol scarcity bites harder. Power tariff also demands reversal of Varsity's bill jumps by 300%. We can also find on the point this morning, 149 Nigerians repatriated from Niger. Federal government inaugurates panel for Naira-based crude sale. And also, motorists lament traffic snarl as Julius Berger resumes work on Long Bridge. Not very many major stories this morning. But those are the ones that we can find on the Punch this morning. Let's see what we can find on
Daily Trust.
Daily Trust.
Yes,
okay?
Let's see the Daily Trust newspaper. On the front page of the Daily Trust, senators' monthly pay hits 2 billion naira. Each senator gets 21 million naira per month as running cost, according to Kawus Sumaila. We also have here principal officers package still unknown. Adjust your earnings, given masses realities. Sarah Piaga and Trichet says. Trichet. Farmers express concerns as drought threatens plant growth. Police interrogate journalist over report on SDG office. Murder of 4 hit by stray bullet during protest, 6 justice. That's not good. This is really a sad story. Speaker bows to pressure, withdraws bill on new national anthem recitation. The bill being talked about here is a Counter Subversion Bill. Hardship. Academic activities suffer as varsity students take menial jobs. Why Jigawa tops in wheat, sesame production, Governor Namadi. And final story, African Union appoints Patami as co-chair of 4th Industrial Revolution Policy Council. That's all on the Daily Trust.
Quickly on the Daily Independent, I'm just going to take 2 stories. Reps Speaker withdraws bill to criminalize free speech. And also, I mean, these are the biggest stories in Nigeria today. It says here, National Assembly undermines RMFAC, fixes huge pay for lawmakers, says Atiku. All right, let's just quickly get into the conversation with our guests this morning. We're really out of time. Let's start with the free speech bill, the Counter Subversion Bill put forward by Speaker Tajudeen Abbas. It has now been withdrawn. Are we happy?
Well, I'm happy.
Yes, that has been withdrawn.
Yeah, happy. Yeah, that's what I'm happy. Anyway, to me, is I think that's the most obnoxious bill or law that has been proposed since 1984, 83-84, when we had the Decree 4. If you remember the Decree 4 very well, and the implication of the Decree 4 under the military government of former military ruler, Major General Buhari, when he took over government with Major General Tunde Diagbon. There was this Decree 4 that was enacted by the military, then to guard free speech and so many other things. And to the extent that about I remember two journalists working with Guardian newspaper then, Thompson and Irabo, were jailed. And so this is just next to it. And it's unbelievable that such a bill could come from the number 4 citizen of Nigeria. And it just gives the impression that this current government is just working the path of trying to gag Nigerians for expressing themselves. And if it has been any other member of the House, probably wouldn't have gotten this kind of rule that are going on. But this is the number 4 citizen. What it means is that if the president, vice president, and the Senate president is not available, the person that will take over the realm of affairs of Nigeria as the president acting in that capacity is the speaker. So for this to be coming from him means it shows the mindset of some of our leaders. And I don't know what is out to achieve by that. As of yesterday, there was this. What is being put up now is his second press release, because I received 2 press releases from his office yesterday. The first one, which came out in the morning, he was defending.
Yes,
this.
he was
I'm
explaining.
Sure he was explaining. I don't know. Yes, that was one. The first one. That was one that came out about 9 a.m., which he sent out, which we received as CKN News, where he was defending the bill.
Trying to clarify
this understanding. At the end of it, after that, it has not become a law that even if it has to go through some committees, after committees, it has to be passed by the House of Reps, then concurrent with the Senate, then it has to take the president to assent to it before it be all those trying to justify it. But we should just know, you should just know that this is a democracy. You can't just wake up one day and just think that you just do anything you like and try to justify it. Good sense must have prevailed, and probably some people must have spoken to him and say, Oga, Mr. Man, suffer down, withdraw this thing.
And it's great that he listened.
Well, he has to listen.
Yes.
Because if he hadn't, if he doesn't listen, Nigerians will make him to listen. We've gone beyond where anybody can just wake up in Nigeria and just think that we can just push down the truth of Nigerians. Nigerians are ready. The media is ready. NGOs are ready. Everybody is ready to fight that. But good, as I said, good sense prevailed, and he has withdrawn it. And I hope that he will not go and amend it and bring it back in another form, because that's what they normally do. You would think that they've totally withdrawn it. The next thing, I have an amended copy now. I'll be able to let you understand. That's what they do.
Okay. Let's still talk about our lawmakers. On the Daily Trust, senators' monthly pay hits 2 billion naira. So it's the word of Senator Kawu Sumaila against RMAFC. Former Senator Shehu Sani seems to agree with the senator who says that they earn about 21 million naira, even though RMAFC will come and tell you it's about 1 million naira and some thousands. So who is to blame here? Who are we to believe here?
Who are you to believe? Do you receive the salary? The man that receives the salary says that's what you receive. You are asking me.
RMAFC says, they said in the statement that they put out on their website, whilst breaking down how much the lawmakers receive, that they must mention that it is not their responsibility to enforce. Whilst there is already a provision for what these lawmakers should earn, that it's not their responsibility to enforce, and that there's a constitutional lacuna.
I don't even know what that means. I mean, do the senators go to the federal government account and withdraw what they want? Somebody makes those payments.
No, there's what is called first charge payments. They get their money in bulk and they send to the National Assembly and they dispose as they want. But you have to verify or clarify what the RMS was saying. What they are saying is that this is your basic salary. They're not talking of other entitlements, basic, even your pay slip.
Basic or salary?
Yes, wait. If you have your pay slip, when you are being employed, you have a pay slip. They tell you, this is your salary. This is for your dressing. This is for this. This is for that. So what RMA is trying to say is that ordinarily this is what their salary is supposed to be. Yes. Okay. In fact, even the senator said after the deduction, it's supposed to come to about 600 or 650. But you have all this padded where we were buying newspaper for senator. So
RMAFC talked about. He said each senator collects a monthly salary and allowances of the sum of 1,063,816 naira, consisting of the following. Then they broke it down.
That is
so
what
basic salary, which is like 168.
Where I'm even going to, let me tell you, where I'm even going to is that I'm expecting the National Assembly to come out clean on this, because a few days ago, former President Olusegun Obasanjo came out clear. Because, and I said it in another platform, that Olusegun Obasanjo is not somebody you just sweep away. This is a two-time president of Nigeria and a former military head of state. So before he comes out to talk, he has information at his disposal. He just not talk. He's not the type that talks anyhow. He has, and when he said that, I think it was the spokesperson of the Senate that quickly came to try to rubbish Olusegun Obasanjo, and I was just laughing that this one doesn't even know what he's talking about. Now the senator had come. And Senator Andy said, yes, during their time that they were receiving about 13.5 million or whatever. And my own challenge with that was Sani, which I want to sweep aside, is that why didn't Sani say this when he was in the Senate? He has been out of the Senate for about 2 sessions. He wasn't the last session. So he has been, when he was there, issues were being raised. I've seen Sani being questioned, being interviewed on national TV and rest of them, and being asked, how much do you earn as a senator? I never came out clean on that. So for this senator, I've come to see that. But I will tell you that is just a drop in the ocean. Yeah. That is a drop in the ocean. That is what they just get. There are still other etc. ones, according to Zebudaya.
They say there's regular allowances and then there's non-regular
Let me drop it. Also add this to the 160 million that they receive. If you share it for their vehicle, if you understand what I mean, share that 160, divide it by 12. You know what they add it to the 21. Then you can understand how much these guys are. That is just one. Then when they go on oversight functions, they also receive. That's why you see all this probe or no probe. Yeah. You think that most of this probe is just probe for nothing. No. Most of these MDAs, MDGs, ministries, and the rest of them also come on the committee. That is that they come around. You see what happened around the oil theft committee and the rest of them that is being. So those are these guys are one of the most, public service officers across the globe that most paid. And I asked myself, what are they doing? And that is why most people have been clamoring, why don't we just collapse these 2 chambers into one and just have one? When you're talking of cutting down costs, this is what we're supposed to do. This is what we're supposed to be looking at. You are not saying that, oh, they are beating their chest the other day. So, oh, they passed the 70,000 naira minimum wage, and they surrounded the president to sign the bill, and I was laughing. What is 70,000 naira? 70,000 naira, I cannot buy a bag of everything.
We have a call coming in. Let's take a call from Jerry. Good morning, Jerry. Thanks for calling from Taraba. Please go ahead with your comment.
Okay, good morning. I'm very excited today on the News Central this morning. Yes.
Okay, seems like...
Okay, there is an issue I am calling on minds of the public to be able to get to know, is that while on the protest, there is a missing problem we have. Do you know that nearly 6.6...
Jerry, our audio team, please, do we have Jerry's audio? All right. Unfortunately, we can't hear Jerry.
Okay, we can't hear Jerry,
Sorry.
so we're going to have to maybe...
Okay, yes, great. Please, go ahead.
Okay. There is an issue that the public has been diverted about it, is that there is a 6.6 naira and 98 kobo being deducted from all users of mobile telecommunications. They are accumulating nearly over $1 billion monthly. Calculate just Lagos. Once you are checking your balance, maybe 6 times or transferring, they are deducting that amount. Where is that money going to? With all the hardship, with all additional taxes in other angles, people are suffering, looking for food to eat and other things. Why are they increasing all those tariffs? Just you calculate 6 naira, 98 kobo, up nearly approaching 7 naira being deducted. Whether to transfer, whether your check balance again, whether someone says, where are we going in this nation? Please, we need to rise concerning this issue that the public are not aware properly, so that we can bring it to action. As a journalist, you are our eyes. You are the people that we're looking for in this kind of regime, because there is massive suppression of voices. So please, we need to rise against this kind of dehumanization in this regime.
Very much for calling, Jerry. Very quickly, want to touch on that. I want us to quickly move, because there are some other stories that I think that are also important. Yeah. All right. I want us to talk about on the Daily Independent. We didn't take this. I don't know if we took the Daily Independent paper. I doubt that we did. But yesterday we had a doctor join us on the show to talk about the new health policy that the federal government wants to implement to make life better for medical personnel, such that we can start to see a reduction in brain drain. And now there's also a story here about doctors threaten nationwide strike over abducted colleague. And, you know, this was one of the things he spoke about, saying that one of their colleagues had been abducted and nothing had been said about it.
Well, it's quite unfortunate that we're having a doctor abducted, but for each doctor that has been abducted, there are over 1,000 Nigerians that have been abducted on a daily basis. Some are not reported. Many, not even some, many are not reported. It's just few that have been reported, and that is the state of insecurity in the country. Cut across boards. Most of them are not. You even find it difficult that people want to travel by road any longer. It's except the nearest anybody can go, maybe probably for me, is probably from here to Benin. I have to even prepare very. I don't think I can travel by road. Highest Benin, as it even Benin itself. I can take a flight. I'd rather take a flight. And air travel is now expensive. You know, one-way ticket is almost close to 200,000 naira now. Right. But so I think that I don't know the state. I'm just hearing about
this.
Yes,
and I'm going to just quickly give you details to also lend our voice, because it's important that we do. The Nigerian Association of Resident Doctors has threatened that if the abducted doctor, Dr. Ganiat Bola, is not released by August 26th, it will be going on a nationwide strike. They made this declaration at a press briefing in Abuja on Wednesday, and they explained that Dr. Ganiat is a registrar in the Department of Ophthalmology at the National Eye Center, Kaduna.
All right, let's bring in Uche. Good morning.
Good morning, everybody.
Please go ahead.
Hello, good morning, everybody.
Good morning, Uche. Please go ahead with your comment.
Yeah, some people are receiving 21 million naira every month, and some governors cannot even pay 70,000 naira. Hello? Hello?
Yeah, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Some governors said they cannot pay 70,000. And somebody that receives 21 million goes to market with somebody that receives 70,000. The same market. There is no different market. The same market, somebody will earn. And at the same time, the federal government, under our president, have increased the salary of judges 300%. And some people are not ready to pay 70,000. It's a pity we are talking about corruption and crime. Crime will not go away in this country. Neither corruption will go away in this country. If we continue this way, God bless you people.
Okay.
All right. Daily Independent also says protesters carted away Ganduje's corruption trial documents as Governor Abayi.
Why people laugh?
It is as they laugh. I do say it on this program that Nigeria is just like Charlie Boy show. We are anything can happen. You know, some Charlie Boy show, and you don't even know what will happen, and that is Nigeria. But this one came out yesterday.
They said that, angels tune into Nigeria when they want to have a good laugh.
Yeah, they just laugh and just switch on.
Okay, before we have to react to that, let's take a call from Tony. Good morning, Tony. Thanks for calling from Benue State. Please go ahead.
Okay, good morning. Well, I want to comment on this. We are not doing well, and I want to comment on Obasanjo commenting about that. During the time of Obasanjo was the time that we was hearing Ghana must go in National Assembly. Those people that are commenting today, they are the people that destroy all this system, and they are commenting. National Assembly is a place that business is going on there. And in fact, in politics in Nigeria, everywhere you see, every section, both commissioner, all these things, all is about business. And it is quite unfortunate. And that is why this last protest that failed, personally myself, I'm feeling it. Because these people genuinely come out with all the problem that is worrying us, and then to present it to government. But quite unfortunately, I don't know the group that organized those people that disrupt this thing. I think one day we'll get to the right part. Good morning.
Thank you very much, Tony. And I've heard these arguments, people saying that former President Olusegun Obasanjo, who's criticizing them now, you had an opportunity to maybe do differently. Did you do differently? There are those who say Shehu Sani. I mean, you did mention Shehu Sani. So is it an argument to say that if you did not criticize it whilst you were in office or whilst you had the power to, why are you doing that now?
He has been doing that even when he was in government. I think we should get certain things clear. All the anti-corruption agencies that we have presently, who started it? Who established it? Who established EFCC? Who established ICPC and other anti-corruption agencies? It was Obasanjo. I'm not saying that Obasanjo is a saint, but given the scenario, for me, since 1999 to date, Obasanjo remains the best president, I believe, that we've had. He has his shortcomings, of course. There must be one or two things that he has done. But go and look at the indices. All he did is in the area of economy. Yeah. Ask yourself, is in the area of politics? You see that he was... Obasanjo inherited a failed Nigeria, as it were. Take it or not take it. Because the military handed over to him. We saw where we were as in 1999 and what it took him to be able to take us to. By the time Obasanjo was leaving, Nigeria was debt-free. You can fast-check that. Go and ask how much Nigeria is owing now. You talk of area of telecommunication. Whatever we're enjoying today, MTN, AirTel, whatever communication, it was Obasanjo. So many things that he put. So what I'm saying is that the fact that he said that he did certain things doesn't mean that the man should not talk. If he is a statement, those are statements. Ask yourself, of all the things that have been happening, which of the former head of state have spoken? Right. Is it Gowon? Is it Goodluck Jonathan? Is it Abdulsalami Abubakar? Is it IBB? None of them. Yeah. And they went, all they did was to go to the villa and endorse the president. I don't see it wrong in what they did, but I would have also thought that they would have also spoken about the hunger in the land. But they said anything about that. So what are we talking about?
All right, we have a call from Abuja. Good morning. Thanks for calling. Please go ahead.
My name is Lenny. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate what you guys are doing in this video.
Thank you very much.
I want to talk about this National Assembly salary. So they said each National Assembly member is earning 21 million naira. That's about
We have both the Senate and the House of Representatives. We have 469 of them. So 469 Nigerians are earning 9.8 billion naira every month. And just yesterday, the president just signed into law that is increasing the judges to 300%. How many are the judges? Now compare it to the ordinary Nigerians. We go to the same market. This is not fair. These people don't love us. They don't love us. They are just there for their own benefit. They are just the truth. Now you look at what happened in Kano, and they said something in the court case. It's affecting an ordinary Nigerian, our mental health, and it's a disgrace to us, because what if others are listening to this thing globally? They will just laugh at us. It's not fair. These people don't love us. Let's just say the truth. Okay, what is there for the National Assembly to come and say, okay, let's publish this thing? So if any of them employs me, I will publish my business. So we employ these people. They should publish whatever. If their hands are clean, they should publish their salary. It's a simple thing. It's a simple thing to do. So what are they hiding? Okay,
that with us. I mean, he who is down needs fear no fall. If your hands are okay, I don't know if that applies, but if your hands are clean, you should be able to share evidence, right? Yeah. I want us to take this story because we are fast running out of time. But Port refinery nightmare continues as NNPCL fails early August promise. It will be that, I think this is about the 6th time. Asagi shared a tweet by Kalu Aja. He said, which happens first? Arsenal win EPL or NNPC fixes PH refinery? And you know, when he shared that, I lost it.
You remember vividly that we discussed this here. When we discussed this here some weeks back, when you remember vividly when NNPCL came out to say that they're going to start production in August. You heard what I said, and I said it quite clear that I don't believe it. I want NNPCL to prove me wrong. But I still want to wait till the end of August. Today is just about...
No, it's been postponed.
I said, based on what they said, I'm trying to say that I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt. But this is the same cooperation since last year. They first told us December last year. They moved it to March. They moved it to June. They moved it to August. Now September. And you continue to see that there is a continuous sabotage within the system where there's a deliberate attempt to also they cannot be able to do it with the Port Harcourt. They're also trying to sabotage Dangote from taking off with his own. Yeah. If you understand what I mean, that means there's a deliberate attempt within the system to continue making sure that Nigeria continue to import. That is the whole key. That's the whole. People are not seeing the big picture. That is the whole thing. What they are doing is to deliberately make sure that we continue to import because something people are benefiting from it. This is the time that I think the president have to come out and talk about this issue. It's not just saying the president is the minister of petroleum. We have to understand that. Is it now maybe time to have a conversation about whether the president is the right person to hold that ministry? We know him being the minister of petroleum it didn't just start with this administration. I've been saying it since. Yes. So is it maybe time for us to actually now... We've been saying it time and time again that the president is too busy to be able to do that. Yes. But the fact remains that even those that you appoint to do the job, do they give them the right to be able to do it as well?
Let's wrap up with the call from Casey. Good morning, Casey.
Good morning.
Morning. Quickly, go ahead.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. Go ahead. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much for giving Nigerians the opportunity to also air their views on issues that concern our country. I want to really say, talk about the issue of the natural, about the senators going on with 21 million naira just for 30 days when Nigerians are suffering, when Nigeria is bleeding, and they say they are being patriotic. And looking at this, these senators, when you stay on their plenaries, you discover that even 60-70% of them are just there in the Senate. Where are the rest? And every month, these people who did not even attend plenaries take 21 million naira. Most of them are former governors who are also taking pensions from their states. They still have to be looked into. They say they are being patriotic, that they have been downsizing, they're doing this. And when you look at it, you just see they are just deceiving us Nigerians. Secondly, you look at the judiciary. The president just signed 300% salary increase Is it that the present administration wants to like cage up the judiciary and the National Assembly so that they will also be dancing to his tune? And, we are just being taken for granted in this country. Things have to be looked into. People are suffering. Just 70,000 minimum wage is taking them a whole number of months to implement. Just 70,000 naira. Then when you go to the market with 70,000 naira, just one sack of or two sack of this, that is what you come out with. So these people need to understand that we are Nigerians, and Nigerians are suffering. You don't just see them on national. When you look at the plenaries, how many senators are there? How many of them attend this sport? Every month they tell 21 million naira home. They will tell us that they are being patriotic, that they have downsized their salary, that they are doing this, not knowing they are doing faster than this. Thank you and God bless you.
All right, thanks a lot, Casey. And of course, just a reminder that we've had back-to-back ministers of petroleum in the person of the president, even previous presidents that have never been questioned about the mismanagement of the petroleum sector. So he's really just a, minister, by nomenclature, not because, the person takes responsibility or even is asked questions, as to how the sector was run in his time there. But we need to go. CKN, thank you very much for stopping by. Not very happy stories across the newspapers.
Yes, it's not. We're not happy at all. My final take on this is that when you look at the refinery, I think the graph agencies like EFCC should move into NMPC. We need to probe NMPC. And look at how much we spend for turnaround maintenance. You remember the figure that was just being banned? Nothing has been turned around. Not even a single liter of petroleum product is being produced after over about $1 trillion or whatever that we spent on turnaround.
The thing is, the problem with that is agencies in Nigeria, to a large extent, do not seem to work without authority from the executive.
Of course.
Without a directive from the executive.
Of course, they're complicit. They're complicit. Of course.
When we say that EFCC should take action here, it is shocking that they need to be reminded.
Told
exactly.
to do the needful.
You remember also, of course, in the last 48 hours, I think there's a content creator, Dan Bello, that has put out very, very, very strong allegations. The Kano State government, Abdullahi Ganduje's wife. You would expect that the EFCC would look at that and say, okay, let's actually, X-ray
ICPC,
exactly, X-ray those accounts and see if these allegations are true. But I mean,
looking to arrest him.
So
haven't they carted away this thing at the court in Kano?
Well, all right. Thanks a lot for stopping by, Chris Kennedy Wonder.
Thank you very much. Have a wonderful day.
And this is where we wrap up the newspaper review. Today, we'll, of course, continue again tomorrow morning. But let's take a short break. When we come back, we're moving into other stories this morning on Breakfast Central. The federal government has traced at least 83 billion naira in cryptocurrency and fiat money channeled towards the recent nationwide protest. The funds include $50 million in cryptocurrency, with $38 million blocked in 4 cryptocurrency wallets and 4 billion naira contributed by political actors in Abuja, Kano, Kaduna, and Katsina.
The National Security Advisor, Nuhu Ribadu, made the revelation at the inaugural meeting of the State Council of State convened by President Bola Tinubu, stating that a foreign mastermind behind the proliferation of foreign flags during the protest has been identified and will be declared wanted by the police soon. Some local conspirators have been arrested in Abuja, Kaduna, and Kano. Interesting update there. We're waiting to see who these proliferators or who these sponsors are. Remember that National Security Advisor Nuhu Ribadu, he did brief the council on security situation, stating that the protest was not a protest, but a movement to effect a toppling or a change of regime by force. And the council passed a vote of confidence on President Bola Tinubu's administration, praising him for, a job well done, I would say. Well, if at the end of the day, they would say that when you have nothing, when your hands are clean, you really have nothing to fear. If they say that they have information about people who were trying to topple the government, it's important that they bring that information to the public domain. I remember at the start of the conversation where you said that if they keep making these allegations without facts to back them up, at some point it would look like they're crying wolf, and Nigerians won't believe them when they come up again with assertion. So if you genuinely believe that somebody was trying to topple your government, I think it's important that you have evidence to support that. Also, if Nigerians were, this is not in any way to support toppling government, but I think it's reflective of the fact the protests and all the outcry that we're seeing indicative of the fact that people are not pleased and people are not satisfied.
I agree. I mean, I think, you know, like I've been saying it all week, you know, that it is like a broken record at this point. Because they say the same thing. I remember they said it during NSAS that the protesters were marching to Aso Rock to overthrow for President Buhari. Pretty much the same thing that is being said now. But what we would like is that you actually see people who are arrested, that we see that, you know, people are charged, you know, with whatever, you know, charged, treason even, for trying to overthrow the Nigerian government. You know, and I'm talking about people with, I mean, the government actually shows that they truly investigated and they found that, you know, people were trying to fund and overthrow of the government. Let's see those faces. Let's see the people that they're, you know, that are being accused, and of course see proper evidence that the government isn't, you know, just making up these stories. But, you know, if we don't see it, then, you know, like I said, it always just registers in the back of Nigerian mind that, you know, these are all just, you know, fake stories. We'll see. But let's quickly share with you what Nigerians are saying this morning.
Counter Subversion Bill was brought forward by the Speaker of the House, Tajudeen Abbas, and after this was presented, there was public outcry. We talked about it here on News Central Television, and we did see a number of people sharing the conversation as well on social media. It was criticized as a bill that was intended to subdue the rights of Nigerians. And after that, the Speaker brought out the first press release was, of course, explaining that there was some sort of misunderstanding and sort of trying to clarify what the bill intended to achieve. And after that, yes, this was the clarification on Counter Subversion Bill. The attention of the Speaker of House was drawn to it, to the reports and sections. Now, if you look at some of the necessary clarifications, they said, 1, the bill was introduced on the floor of the House on the 23rd of July. 2, the bill falls within the realm of Nigeria's anti-terrorism framework. And there are some other things that were clarified on that which we'll no longer go into. But then, after much pressure, I would say, the bill has finally been withdrawn. And the Speaker has put out a speech withdrawing the Counter Subversion and other related bills. Now, whilst some Nigerians are excited and saying, yes, this is good news, we all lent our voices to this and our voices were heard, there are those who, like me, believe that that is the work of the representatives. You are there to represent the Nigerian people. And if you choose to champion bills or to push bills that are not in the interest of Nigerians, and Nigerians speak against it, it would be understandable that you do what you are meant to do, which is to listen to the voices of the masses. Nigerians have been reacting not just to the bill itself, but also to its withdrawal. And here's what they're saying on X. Our first tweet this morning is from Patutomi, who says, "What a season. The Speaker wants to jail anyone who speaks ill of a politician. The National Assembly continues to lie about what they draw as emoluments for themselves from their employers, the people. So let the people who want to know be sent to jail. Do they realize that taking what belongs to another person without permission is stealing? Can the police please do their job and arrest the National Assembly members and prosecute for stealing? If they fail, the people should seek to recall the National Assembly, beginning with the Senate President and Speaker. Let it not be said, I did not warn about state capture, creeping fascism, and the criminal hijacks of politics in Nigeria." Just part of the subtitle of a book I wrote 6 years ago. The slide to fascist dictatorship is all around us, and we treat it the way Germans treated it until it consumed them in World War II. And away from that, we have another tweet from Maurice Moye. He says, "Breaking, they have withdrawn the satanic bill." Thank God. All the politicians at the National Assembly should be ashamed of themselves for even thinking about it. Nigerian politicians are the wickedest people on earth. He had me at wickedest. We have another tweet from Bro Rogers who says, "Don't celebrate. That celebration may be a sufficient distraction for them to bring up something more strangulating." The next tweet is from Mayuse, who says, "Hopefully they will not pass it in the middle of the night because it is the new tactics they will sooner introduce." We have another tweet says, "Tender your resignation immediately for sponsoring this bill in the first place. Your continued stay in office is a threat to constitutional democracy and safety of Nigerians." And that's from Ofolari Okpeyemi Joseph. Chuxton says, "Good riddance. Occupying such sensitive position as a speaker, you should consult widely before coming up with such kind of bill. You almost threw the nation into chaos with it. I hope it never resurfaces in the future." And the next tweet is from Joseph Onora, who says, You have to apologize publicly for this legislative rascality. How dare you suggest a draconian law in a democracy that is fledgling? Where is the sense of responsibility? And this tweet, which happens to be our final tweet, is quite interesting. It's from David Hunde, and he says, there was never any intention of trying to pass this bill, and it had 0% chance of passing anyway. The purpose of this Nollywood drama was to give Nigerians the illusion of a victory and thus diffuse the motivation for another protest. It was a distraction. Another angle. Do you agree with him? Do you think that this was a distraction and that it was never going to be passed? Whatever side of the divide you're on, again, we say, and to remind the House of Representatives that Nigerians do not seem to trust you. As you can see from the tweet, there are those who believe that this is just some form of temporary distraction and that much later the bill will be snuck back in. Nigerians have expressed their displeasure. They do not like, they do not want, they do not accept, neither do they approve of this bill. So it behoves on you as representatives, representing your employers, the Nigerian people, to listen to the voices of the people, not just now, but subsequently, and to do what is right, representing the desires and the wishes of the people. And that's all that we can take concerning the Counter Subversion Bill. And we'll take more tweets to share with you in subsequent shows what Nigerians are saying. Remember to always engage with us at News Central TV. But that does it for us today. We'll see you again tomorrow. I am Olive Emodi.
And I am Osaoge Ogbonwa. See you tomorrow.